The muscle up is a pretty achievable skill. It was actually one of the first skills that I learned. After I learned the basics, pull-ups, push-ups, and even squats, I moved on to the muscle up. The muscle up is a great introductory skill and a great gateway into more advanced techniques like the front lever, plunge, and handstand push-ups. But in this video, you want to learn the muscle up, right? And I take it that you've already started your muscle up journey, or you are thinking of starting your muscle up journey. And here's the thing you need to know. Before we go into this video, you need to be able to do 10 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and to be able to do some of the calisthenics basics. I will put up a video for the calisthenics basics up here. First time doing it, so I think I'm getting it right. All right. So so now in this video, I really just want to talk about somebody who is now they've mastered the basics, and then now they are starting the muscle up as their first skill, right? And the thing is that because of the skill, it takes time for your body to learn it, and it really is like a learning process, right? So I'm going to go through the technique. I'm going to go through the power that you need to develop for this, and I'm going to go through how to solidify and stabilize and strengthen the shoulder joint, because it's so key and so many people do not do it, which then makes the muscle up quite actually dangerous for you guys, right? So I want to go through all this. It really is technique. A lot of skills are always going to be technique, because the better you can coordinate your body in doing the task at hand, then the easier you are going to make it to be able to do these types of skills, right? You can have all the strength, all the power in the world, but if you don't know how to apply that ability that you have, you're not going to be able to do the movements correctly. You're not going to be able to be efficient. So technique is king. Technique is always numero uno, right? So when I'm referring to technique in this video and with my students, when I'm teaching them muscle ups, I'm talking about the bottom phase of the muscle up, and then also the whole movement of the muscle up, right? So first I want to go into the bottom phase of the muscle up, and it is so important, this phase, guys. It is so important. Just think about it, like for example with pull-ups, right? When you're doing your pull-ups, you're trying to get into a rhythm, right? And I'm assuming that you are doing proper pull-ups, all the way up, all the way down, where you fully stretch out the shoulders and the arms at the bottom position. This stretch is going to give you a stretch reflex, which then gives you more momentum, which then helps you to have more power when you do your muscle up, right? So what happens is that when people are training the muscle up, they forget about the speed, they forget about creating the momentum, and then what happens is that, you're just trying to do like a slow muscle up. And a slow muscle up, when in terms of difficulty, is one of the toughest skills out there. So we are trying to do a regular muscle up, a strict muscle up, right? Which is a combination of strength and, it'll come to me, and speed, right? So in this bottom phase, that's exactly what you're doing. You are trying to generate the speed in the bottom to then be able to engage your scapulas going into scapular depression, to then be able to keep your shoulders locked into place by externally rotating and then pulling up into your muscle up, your pulling phase, and then transitioning into your push phase, right? So how you start the move, how you start anything is always important. So you really have to master this phase. And this is something, for example, you can do frequently in your training. And this is something you can constantly repeat, because it's very low intensity, but it's about timing. It's about learning the timing. It's about understanding what you need to do with the shoulders, because with the shoulders, let's say, for example, when you're starting off the move, you're in this short position, right? Short position where the angle of your arms is slightly down, right? So my arms are closer to my body. And then when I jump forward, when I move forward, what happens now is that I want to go into a full stretch. This full stretch is going to open and actively lengthen myself, and that's going to give me a lot more generation to then be able to go back into a shortened position, engaging the scapulas, and then now engaging the lats and biceps and pulling up, right? To get more height, to get more force. So mastering this is super, super key. And like I said, it's low intensity. So it's actually something you can do frequently throughout the week. This can be your prep movements at the beginning of your training, muscle up training, or your other calisthenics training, okay? Next up, we have the jumping muscle up. And the thing with the jumping muscle up is, just think about this. You need to manipulate the movements, right, to be able to get a skill. If you want a skill, you need to be able to manipulate the variables that you have, right? So for example, let's say if you can't do normal pull-ups, what you would do is, for example, you could do seated pull-ups. You could do band pull-ups, right? Because you are now mimicking, you are now imitating the actual move. And like, what's this doing now with like a good amount of volume, a good amount of intensity in the repetitions and the sets? Then you're actually training and teaching the nervous system like exactly what you want. And it is building strength in that specific movement pattern, right? To the point where you're going to be progressively overloading, and then eventually you can do the move, right? So the jumping muscle up is something you can alter, you know, in terms of difficulty. You can bring the bar a little bit lower, and that way you don't have to jump up that much, and there will be a lot more less intensity for you just starting out. Or you can bring the bar a little bit higher to now add a little bit more intensity, right? So it's very important how you go up and then how you come down. So when you're starting off the move, you are in a stretched position, right? You want to jump from a stretched position. And I am utilizing the technique I learned in the bottom phase, right? So I want to stretch my shoulders, and then from there, I want to engage the scapulars and then go into the jump. But even though I'm jumping, I'm still activating my back, right? So as I'm activating my back, I go up, I fall forward, I push myself forward, and then boom, I go up, right? And then I slowly come down. Normally what's gonna happen is that when you're actually coming down, you're actually gonna come down quite quick. But even in that like quickness, in that phase of you falling, you try to resist. And that resistance is the first instant, the first stage of you actually building strength in that position. And then what you'll find with frequency and repetition is that you'll be able to go down slower and slower and slower, to the point where maybe you can go down like 5 seconds or 10 seconds coming down, right? That's when you really develop strength in that position. So it's a great exercise to actually mimic the muscle up, and it's a great one for beginners who are learning the muscle up because it's low intensity. Yes. I said the muscle up is all technique, but you do need a decent amount of power to be able to do the muscle up, right? And like I said, it's not strength. You need strength in combination with speed, which is now power. So you need to learn how to be explosive. This is so key. I see it so many times in the park, in the gym. People are training for the muscle up. They're maybe using like the band muscle up, doing an exercise even with a heavy band that is already still too intense for you, right? Because you can't get good reps in, and you can't get a high volume of reps in when doing the band muscle up, right? So you're probably not ready for that, right? So you need to really be precise with the exercise selection that you choose, the exercises you choose. So speed is so key. You have to have power, right? With the muscle up at the very beginning, you are using as much power as possible, and then as you develop, you then move on to doing a little bit slower, right? So it's actually there's a stage and a journey of the muscle up. Like I said, in the beginning, using a lot of power, and then as you get more stronger, as you understand the movement a lot more, you can actually do your muscle up a lot more slower, and then it gets closer to a slow muscle up. But the real slow muscle up is a completely different skill, right? And very high difficulty level. So power, how do you develop this? You go back to your pull-ups. A great drill that you can do is to do 10 plus pull-ups within 25 seconds, right? So for example, maybe you can do 10 pull-ups, right? But maybe it takes you like 40 seconds, it takes you 60 seconds. It's good, but if you really want to make your muscle up journey a lot more seamless, because sometimes when you start with some of these skills, yes, you might have the strength for it, you might have a decent amount of strength for it, but the journey can be a whole lot easier when you are fully prepared. right? When you have the strength, when you have the power, when you have the joint strength, the joint stability, you know, the journey can actually be more seamless. And this is where now you see that progress, you know? So if there's too many things for you to actually to improve on, the journey is going to be a whole lot more slower. So this is where, okay, you actually want to prepare yourself before you start doing the muscle up, right? So with the muscle up, aim for 10 plus pull-ups within 25 seconds. And then I would also include pike push-ups, or yeah, you could do push-ups as well as a push variation, aiming to do, yeah, let's say 15 repetitions within 25 seconds, because it's going to teach you, it's going to teach your nervous system, your body to be fast. And that's what the muscle up is. It is technique and power. By the way, guys, do not forget to subscribe for all things calisthenics related, to help you in your training journey and to help you actually get those skills, right? Because you actually want to get the results for the effort you're putting in. So subscribe, leave some comments, and let me know if you want me to go into more details into the muscle up. Okay, so if you've made it this far, well done. You're really into your muscle up journey and you like the video, so great. Okay, now do not leave until the very end, because now I'm going to talk about the most important thing on your muscle up journey. So yes, we said technique, you know, was important, but even before technique, what you need is joint integrity, right? And in this scenario, yes, all the joints are important. Wrist, elbows, shoulders, spine, yeah, let's say even lower body as well, right? We'll include the whole body because there is no isolation, right? So with the muscle up, if you want to avoid injuries on your muscle up training, on your muscle up journey, then your shoulders need to be able to withstand the load, which is the intensity from doing muscle ups, right? Pulling movements and all that's entailed in the muscle up. So what you need to do is to strengthen your shoulder. So get it stronger, get it more mobile, get it more, build more stability, and gain more control and understanding of how to actually move your shoulders, right? So it really is this thing of like, you need to investigate your body and learn how your shoulder moves specifically. And that's a big difference between beginners and advanced. Advanced know exactly how to place their joints in a particular position to make a movement possible and to output maximal strength. Beginners don't have the sense of acute sensitivity and don't have the awareness to be able to do that. And that's the whole stage of training, what it comes with, right? So when it comes to your shoulders in muscle ups tend to be one of the exercises that causes a lot of injuries, right? I've seen it personally. I hear it all the time. Myself, yeah, I don't think I ever got injuries from muscle ups. I did from front lever, and that taught me a lot about joint strength and joint integrity. Yeah. Okay. So your shoulders, the shoulders need to be strong in all their different angles, right? So in flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, in internal, external rotation, right? But for this video, I'm going to focus on, let's say 3, right? I'm going to focus on 3, but really you want the whole shoulder to be capable and to be able to do the move, right? So the first one is depression, which you should have already learned in your muscle up training, because in your pull up training, right? Because before you start bending the elbows and pulling yourself up, you first go from that stretched position and hanging position, passive hang, into an active hang, right? So that is scapular depression, right? With your arms overhead. So that scapular depression is now opening up a whole canvas of possibility of strength, right? Because now you can fully engage the back muscle, right? And not put unnecessary stress on the neck and shoulders, right? The pull-up is a back exercise, so use your back. The muscle up is, from the first half, is a back movement. It's a high pull-up, right? So you need to make sure you actually engage the lower traps. And how you're gonna do that, I'm gonna give you this exercise, which is the overhead slide. And this one is also gonna be focusing on rotation as well, which is the other component, right? So scapulars, the shoulders, they need scapular depression, where you bring your shoulders just down away from the ears. And then they also need the ability to externally rotate and internally rotate. So as you pull up, the shoulders need to, the humerus, the upper bone, the upper arm bone needs to externally rotate. And then as you go in transition into your top face over the bar, then your shoulders go into internal rotation, right? But you still have to avoid like the elbows flaring out. So the shoulders need scapular depression and external rotation. And this is what this exercise is going to do. This exercise is going to be very, very difficult. It is still very, very difficult for me because my shoulders are crap. And a lot of people, many people, shoulders are crap. I can't quantify it. I just experienced what I've experienced. And when I train my clients, when I train my friends, when I see people doing pull-ups, when I see them do push-ups, one of the things that's holding them back is actually their shoulder capacity. The shoulders don't have stability, right? So this exercise right here, the overhead slide, is going to be one of the hardest. It's going to be harder than actually doing the pull-up and harder than doing the muscle-up. Trust me, if you get it right, it's going to be very, very hard, right? So your shoulders need to be in the scapular depression, and I push my shoulders forward. I'm giving you a lot of detail. Just watch the video and pick it up, right? If you want more details, let me know and I'll make a video on this one. And then now, the other one is now going to be shoulder strength and then also mobility, right? Because we need to be able to move freely in all these different positions. So this is where the shoulder cars comes in handy, right? Single arm to where you can actually now see how the left side works and how it moves, and how the right side works and moves. Because most likely there's going to be some differences, right? And the more you can understand like how each side is different for you, then you can actually learn how to coordinate and organize yourself to do the movements, to do your muscle up, right? There you have it, guys. So the video actually turned out to be a lot longer than I wanted because I wanted to give you guys quick and effective and powerful tips that you can now use easily and you can digest and use easily in your training, right? So hopefully it's still kind of did the job. And now with this information, go out and actually practice, right? You need to make sure you actually go out there. Don't be watching countless videos, you know, watch your 1 or 2 videos, get the concept, and then boom, move on and start doing it, right? Your body's only gonna learn by you actually doing it. So I've shown you the way, and then now you have to walk that way, right? All right, so subscribe to the channel and I will see you guys on the next video.